Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israel and the Islamist Hamas organization have reportedly reached an understanding regarding a long-term ceasefire arrangement, according to which there will be a gradual easing of the Gaza blockade in exchange for an end of all forms of violence emanating from the Palestinian enclave. Israeli Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman declares that Jerusalem will not accept any restrictions on its freedom of operations in Syria, while reaffirming Jerusalem's determination to take action when it comes to its national security interests. U.S. President Donald Trump vows to use every instrument available to confront the sinister forces of terrorism, while stressing that the war against terror was one of the reasons for his decision to withdraw from the 2015 nuclear deal with Iran. Israel and the Islamist Hamas organization have reportedly reached an understanding regarding a long-term ceasefire arrangement, according to which there will be a gradual easing of the Gaza blockade in exchange for an end of all forms of violence emanating from the Palestinian enclave. According to informed sources that were quoted by the London-based Al-Hayat Daily, Egypt managed to motivate Hamas to end, among others, a weekly Palestinian campaign of violent protests along the Gaza border fence with Israel, as well as the use of incendiary kites and balloons, which have burned thousands of acres across southern Israel. While TV7 was not able to confirm this report, which was broadly covered by Israeli and international media outlets, a statement by Israeli Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman may have pointed to its possible validity. According to the top defense official, the Palestinian protests along the southern Israeli border with the Gaza Strip are expected to pass more quietly. Lieberman, however, did not confirm nor deny any Egyptian-mediated arrangement with the terror organizations in Gaza. That said, a source from the Israeli Defense Ministry told TV7 that the Jewish state continues to act in accordance with its declared policy. Quiet will be met with humanitarian relief, while violence will be met with a disproportionate response. The security source refused to comment, however, on the reports of a ceasefire arrangement, while the Islamist Hamas did not immediately respond to TV7's request for comment. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, Jason Greenblatt, will arrive in Jerusalem next week to attend several high-level meetings as part of the administration's preparations to reveal its peace plan for the decades-old Israeli-Palestinian conflict. While Greenblatt will meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu during his visit, the American envoy is not expected to meet with Palestinian officials, whom are boycotting the U.S. administration since President Donald Trump acknowledged Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, which prompted the relocation of the U.S. Embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Now to Israel's border region with Jordan, where heavy rainstorms unleashed flash floods across the desert region, sweeping anything in its way into valleys that direct the raging streams into the Dead Sea. Upon the Jordanian request, a number of Israeli helicopters have joined their Jordanian colleagues in rescue efforts after the torrential rain swept away a bus carrying 44 children and teachers whom were on a school trip picnicking in the area. After extensive rescue efforts, at least 19 people were killed, while another 33 were injured. According to Jordan's Director General of Civil Defense, 4 people remain missing.
العمل ما زال مستمر منذ المساء أمس لغاية هذه اللحظة، وتم العثور قبل ساعة تقريبا على طالبة 12 سنة عمرها، وتم إرسالها للمستشفى. عدد الإصابات، عدد المتوفين أصبح الآن 19 حالة، وعدد الإصابات 33. طبيعة العمل الآن قسمناه حوالي 10 مجموعات. البحث مستمر وفي طائرات شغالة الآن تفتش على الشاطئ وعلى المنطقة الجبلية المرتفعة، وإن شاء الله نصل على العدد تقريبا متوقعين إنه في 4 لغاية الآن مفقودين، وإحنا لا زال البحث جاري.
Meanwhile, on the Israeli side of the border, 9 people were rescued after they were unable to continue with their desert jeep tour because of flash floods that engulfed their location. Thankfully, in contrast to last year, in which similar flash floods swept away an Israeli school bus, claiming the lives of 10 children, this year no casualties were reported. Now in other news, Jordan reaffirmed its commitment to the peace treaty with Israel despite its decision not to continue to lease the Tzofar and Naharaim territories. Jordanian Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi, who is on an official visit to Russia, underscored in an interview that the lease had been temporary from the outset and limited in time. Safadi stressed that the decision not to extend the lease was fully in keeping with the spirit of the peace agreement and was not downgrading the treaty's importance, as was claimed by several Israeli officials. The foreign ministry in Jerusalem did not immediately respond to TV7's request for comment. Now, with regard to Israel's northern neighbor Syria, Israeli Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman declared that Jerusalem will not accept any restrictions on its freedom of operations in the war-torn country, while reaffirming Jerusalem's determination to take action when it comes to its national security interests. The top Israeli defense official further revealed that even though the media did not report on Israeli strikes in Syria, that does not mean that there were none. Lieberman explained that Israel does not report on what its military does behind enemy lines, yet emphasized that an army needs to act when its country is under threat. The comments by Defense Minister Lieberman were made in an interview on Israel's army radio after Russia reportedly sought to renegotiate terms with Israel on its operations against Iran in Syria. According to the reports, Russia is insisting to receive a further advance warning about Israeli strikes, contrary to the current agreement in which the coordinated mechanism only demands several minutes ahead of each operation. The reported Russian demand comes a month after Moscow announced it would supply Syria with the S-300 surface-to-air systems after one of its military planes was downed by a Syrian S-200 missile during an Israeli strike in the country. Now to Washington, where U.S. President Donald Trump vowed to use every instrument available to confront the sinister forces of terrorism, while stressing that the war against terror was one of the reasons for his decision to withdraw from the 2015 nuclear deal with Iran.
We will use every instrument of our national power to confront the sinister forces of terrorism. That is one reason why last year I withdrew the United States from the Iran nuclear disaster.
President Trump further pointed to the fact that the decision to pull out of the nuclear deal and the reimposition of sanctions on the Islamic Republic has diverted the Ayatollah regime's expansionist aspirations, as they are now focused on survival.
They're rioting in their streets, their money's collapsed, their lives are a lot different, and they're not looking so much for the Mediterranean. And when I took office, they were looking for the Mediterranean. They were going to take over everything. Now they want to survive. Whole different deal, folks. It's a whole different deal.
The American leader noted that while another batch of sanctions against Iran will be implemented on the 4th of November, Washington will continue to apply pressure on the radical regime and will follow up with additional sanctions that will address the range of Iran's malign conduct.
And they will be followed up with even more sanctions to address the full range of Iran's malign conduct. We will not allow the world's leading sponsor of terror to develop the world's deadliest weapons. Will not happen.
On the 4th of November, the United States will impose another series of sanctions against the Islamic Republic, this time against its oil and banking sectors. While Tehran continues to reject any amendments to its nuclear program, President Trump emphasized that unless Iran changes its behavior, the pressure will continue to mount. Thank you for watching us. Keep praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Jonathan Hassan. Have a Erev Tov and Shabbat Shalom. We will see you again on Monday at the same time.